Welcome to the Next Step Podcast, edition number 5. I want to introduce you to Jonathan Huffstetler, not just the Jonathan Huffstetler you see on Sunday morning, but kind of behind the scenes. Who's really Jonathan and what's he doing and how has our church helped him to take the next step on his journey with Christ. So welcome.
Good to be here.
Great to see you. Welcome to the studio. We're so grateful for those who have made this possible for us. And so tell us kind of about Jonathan. Where are you from? What happened when you grew up? And what have you been doing? And all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm actually from this area. You know, I'm one of the few people, I think, who didn't really transplant here. So I grew up in Gastonia, not far, out near Forest View. I'll get back to that in a second. But so grew up out there and moved to Belmont when I was in the 8th grade. And went to Belmont Middle School, which is now being turned into something else. I don't know. That's when you know you're getting old, when you like see your school and it's no longer a school. But went to Belmont Middle and then went to South Point. And from there I went on to UNC Charlotte. So go 49ers, right? And
we're for a little alumni. That's right.
Yeah.
Got one from there.
So
that's awesome.
Went to Charlotte, and you know, I had dreams of coming out. I started my own business while I was a senior in high school. I started my own business, and I was a DJ. Yeah. And I remember
so going. There's a theme to that, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more.
Yeah. So I started my own business, being a DJ, and I was 17 when I went, and my dad co-signed on a loan for me and helped me kind of get this equipment and. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I mean, I kind of did. I love music, and so it kind of got me into the sound world and everything, and I DJ'd all through, you know, my senior year and then in college, and I ended up growing the business where it was, you know, I had 3 different sets of guys going out and DJing if we had multiple bookings or whatever.
Cool.
I met my wife. Well, I met my girlfriend at the time. I didn't meet my wife, but when I was a senior in high school. So
you probably said that. You like my first wife, right?
Yeah.
Or your only wife. That's right.
Yeah, there was a song. Funny thing, there was a song growing up, and it said, "Hey, I don't know your name, but I know the last one."
Oh,
so it's
nice.
it's like the ultimate like pickup line.
Hey,
I guess.
Girl, you gonna be a hustler.
So, but yeah, I met her. She was I met her at the beach actually. A really cool story. I got to share this really quick.
Please do.
Met her at the beach when we were 14 and 15. Right, which is crazy. And we had to leave. Hurricane Bertha came through, and they made us evacuate the beach, right? So so just met her. It was nothing, you know. And then when I was back, when I was 17, she was 16, we met again at the same beach, you know, and our parents, you know, we're down there with our parents. So we were like, okay, maybe we should date and get married. I don't know.
That's wild. That's cool.
Yeah, so but you know,
destiny.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't escape it. So, but she's my girlfriend through college and everything. We got married. And
so, how many years did you date before you were
7.5?
That's pretty amazing, right there.
She rushed things. So 7.5
I think it's really crucial too. One of the things I always tell couples I'm getting ready to do a marriage ceremony for is it's really wisest for you to go through a couple of years together. So, what happens in the spring, summer, fall, winter? How do you celebrate Christmas? How do you celebrate birthdays? All the kind of things that go along with just living life regularly. So you actually practiced
a lot.
For 7.5 years.
Yeah.
About where we're going for Christmas.
Yeah, she was ready to get married at the end of that 7.5 years. So, but been married now for 16 years. We've got
Fantastic.
3 awesome, amazing kids. I've got Eli, who's my oldest. He's 12. Eden, who is my middle child, she's 9. And then we didn't really do the E's thing, but we realized when we had the first 2 E's, the third one had to be an E, so it was kind of accidental. But now, so now we have Emerson, which we call Emmy, and cool. She is 6.
My mom says the same thing.
Yeah,
I was Roger, Robbie, Ray, and Richard.
Yeah,
and she promises it wasn't until the last one before they said,
you kind of get
the
stuck.
other 3s are R's. Why not just make them the last one an R?
I believe that because that's what happened to us. Yeah. So, well, we've got three amazing kids, and and I've been at the point now for, I think it's going on 13 years, which is mind-blowing to me.
It is.
And
so you've been married for 16, and so you've been here at least part-time for 13 of them. So you kind of were with us about 3 years before you became full-time. Is that correct?
It was a little longer than that. I even started at the YMCA. So it was kind of cool, the transition here versus, you know, I've stepped into some roles before the Point Church at a church where there's like this problem, and it's like they're without somebody, had to come in. The cool thing about here, it was a good transition to step into, right? Dan that was here before me, he he knew he was leaving for about a year and to go start a church, and so he kind of brought me in once a month.
Yeah.
And then as it got closer towards the end, it was like, hey, okay, now you're 2-3 times a month or whatever. So it was a really neat and smooth transition, I thought, coming to the point. So.
Absolutely. So let's stay right there for just a minute, because I want you to tell us about your other careers and stuff before you got here. But talk a little bit about how you learned to play guitar and why you got into church, helping at church and stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is a crazy story.
Yeah,
so if you think you may not have what it takes or something, this is how I got thrown into leading worship. I was a student leader in my youth group, which basically means I had finished high school, and I wasn't really in students, but I still was very connected with that group. And so I remember I went and bought, it was a Takamine, if you know anything about acoustic guitar, a Takamine G Series.
Okay.
It was $249 at the music store in Gastonia. I bought it, and my youth pastor at the time, his name's Chris Kennedy. He's actually still a pastor here in Cramerton, actually. Yeah. And excuse me, I'm sorry, he's now moved to Gastonia. But he told me, he was like, "Hey, you're leading worship Wednesday night," and I was just like, Chris, I don't think you understand how this works. I was like,
I just bought the guitar.
I don't know how to play it. So, but I remember trying to. I learned like 3 chords, and I wish I had a video of it. I'm sure it's horrible, right?
I bet not.
So just trying to learn how to play.
So which church was this? Union Road?
This is Yorkwood Church of God.
Okay.
This is in South Gastonia, which is actually where Chris is back at now. He's the lead pastor there now. But
hey, Chris. Give a shout out here from Jonathan. Chris
Absolutely.
Kennedy, York Road, Yorkmont Church of God.
Yorkwood Church of God.
Yorkwood. Okay.
So it's just crazy how, it was such a small conversation. Okay. But I think it was a God-driven thing that I had no idea was even happening right now. We can't see the big picture a lot of times. Really small little thing of, hey, you're leading. I didn't even buy it to play at church. I just bought it so I would know how to play it and just learn it. And it's crazy how that has really just shifted and changed my direction in life and in general. It's crazy.
Chris, we want to thank you for doing that to Jonathan, because he's blessed so many people with his giftedness and that kind of stuff. So do you remember the songs that you sang that first night?
Oh,
it was like,
man.
Lord, I lift your name.
Probably.
High, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
that's still a good song, right? Good sentiment, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so to tell us a little more about your music thing. So where did that progress from there?
Yeah, so I went to Union Road. To Union Road from Yorkwood from there, and I played kind of in their worship team or whatever. And then I remember Mark Tucker was there, who's still David Tucker, great people. I love those guys. And Mark got me playing on stage. And Mark was telling a story to me the other day. It was so funny. So we went and played at a camp meeting that they had up in the mountains, which was like all of the local Church of Gods came and they're there. And I was there, but I'm like sitting over to the side of the stage. And this is the choir and everybody's playing. And Mark's just like, "Hey, do you want to lead a song?" And I'm like, "Well, what?" It's all these people here, And so I was like, "Sure, I'll play one." Yeah. So I get up there, and I'm not really dressed for the occasion, right? So everybody's in 3-piece suits, and here's Jonathan up there, and he's getting some jeans, and I think we had some holes in them, and I did the Chris Tomlin song, "How Great Is Our God," is what I led, and I think it was "How Great Is Our God," and just a cool experience. Yeah. And
so they start singing along with you behind?
Oh yeah, the whole place was, and it was really neat. But Mark had a huge influence on me as well, just helping me get going and get playing, and and then from there, I actually started a band where I met Brent, who's behind the cameras right now, right, filming this.
Hey Brent, he's behind the cameras.
Hey Brent,
he's at Worship Sunday, did a great job.
Yes, but I made this band, and we called ourselves On That Day. Okay. And we really went around to churches that had kind of some struggling music programs to help them get going or fill in while they were in a transition period or whatever. We actually led worship permanently on Wednesday nights for the youth group that Brent was in Oakdale Baptist Church in Rock Hill, where my friend Joey. I know you know
What's
Joey.
up, Joey D?
Yeah. So we led down there, just a great time just in ministry with the youth group, and things were booming and down there, and just we had a lot of amazing nights with God's presence in the room and stuff, and that's where I met Brent. And we continued to fill in. Then I played at a church in Concord, Kannapolis area, kind of right on the line, Providence House.
Okay.
And it was just that was another thing. It was just massive youth group. There were 600 students every Wednesday night.
Wow.
And it was just crazy. They bust them in, had several buses running, and just a really cool time in life. Met some great friends who I'm still friends with today up there. And
So where Aaron Beaver's from?
Aaron Beaver, yep.
Aaron Beaver, another shout out from one of Jonathan's friends who are all over.
Yep. Aaron Beaver and Todd and LC. We just had I still stay in touch with some of these guys. Another great time, and then I finally came back to Gastonia again from bouncing around all these churches and helping, and the band just kind of fizzled out. It wasn't really anything. We never really fell apart. It was just life got in the way. You know, people got married, people had kids, and things just got kind of busy. And so I ended up leading at Union Road for a while, where I started kind of playing in the band. So I led there for a while, and then I led at our friends it was Bethlehem Church at the time, now City Church.
Dickie Spargo.
A lot of shout-outs in this.
That's right. So, I just want you to see he's been all over. South Carolina, North Carolina, everywhere.
Yeah, I heard Bryce Young. Man, he nailed I know you watched the draft.
Yeah.
First thing he says when he gets up there, he's like, my name's up here, but there's so many names that should be up here with me that kind of so I mean there are a lot of people that just influence you along the way.
Absolutely.
That even at the time we don't know really the impact that it's having.
Yep.
And so but led it we'll call it Bethlehem City Church now.
Yeah.
And I was leading for their students down in their warehouse, and then somehow you and Dickie and
asked Dickie if he had somebody to recommend, and thank you so much for doing so. Jonathan's been with us for 13 years now, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So I think there's also a theme that's interesting all the way back to the guitar story and all to I'm at the youth camp and they asked me to come up on stage. You kind of learn by just getting thrown in the middle of something, right? It's not like you study, and then you try it. It's kind of like you
learn on the job.
Jump in, right?
That's right.
You either swim or sink,
That's
right?
it.
Good deal. And you definitely are good at that. And you're kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You're good at lots of different things.
Yeah, Easy said it last time. It's like the jack of all trades, master of none. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I don't know. I've seen you master some. You're very appropriately humble. So, all right, now take us to post-college. So you went to college as a biology major, right?
Yeah. So
what did you want to do with it?
Went and studied biology. So it was weird. When I first went into college, I was like, I want to fly medevac, right? Huh. And I wanted to be a PA or fly medevac. And those were the two things that I was set on doing. So I started in high school, actually. I was taking actually, she goes to our church now, Dawn Hall. She was one of my teachers in Allied Health Sciences. We went to the hospital for half of the day and shadowed doctors. And I was like, this is what I want to do, right? And so we go, I go to head down that road at least, studying biology. I finished with the biology degree, and I come out, and about the 3.5 year mark, I hit this thing. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with college. I don't want to go 2 more years. Yeah. And so I was like, well, now I'm going to take that same degree, and I'm going to get into pharmaceutical sales. I thought I would enjoy that, and it was a booming field at the time. And so I come out with my degree, and I'm like, who wants to hire me?
Yeah, that's right.
Here's all these people. Where's the offers?
That's right.
Nobody would hire me.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
But I make good grades. What's up?
It was so crazy. It's like everybody wanted the degree, but they also wanted sales experience, and that I didn't have. And so I jumped in. I had a couple interviews, and they were like, hey, go get sales experience first and then come back and see us. And I jumped in. I got a job at Alltel.
Okay.
Everybody remembers Alltel.
Bag phones. Alltel, yeah.
I mean, we had it all. So we had the
StarTAC,
the Nokias, and Blackberries. Oh my goodness, we sold a bunch of Blackberries and everything. So, but anyway, I started out in the store in Gastonia up in Franklin Square, and I started getting my sales experience, right, and then did really well there. Won some kind of nationwide contests and sales, and I got promoted to the business side of sales, and then so from there I had some some pretty large accounts that I managed. I handled all of CMPD's accounts and helped with some stuff in the medical field there as well, and landed some big accounts and just did really well there too. And then, in the corporate world, you just never know what's going to happen, right? So the giant comes in, Verizon comes in, and I know a lot of people watching this can relate to this, but sure. There's no like mergers, right? It's a what?
Acquisition.
Acquisition. That's takeover. Right. The bigger giant just consumes the other one. And so they come in, they buy us out, and we're there for about a year just blindly. And, they're not really giving us a lot of information, all these Alltel folks, and Verizon's still operating. And then they just come in one day and they let over half of us go just as a kind of a merger. Not enough room for everybody on the boat kind of thing. And so,
you voted off.
Yeah. And so, but I kept, so at that time, I guess I could have gone into pharmaceutical sales. I didn't.
Yeah.
I stayed in the telecom world, and I went to Time Warner business class and sold fiber to businesses and things like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So he's not a drug dealer because of the telecommunications.
That's right.
Although a legal drug dealer, right? The good kind.
That's right.
And you did really well in that too. You're good and very persuasive.
Yeah, I mean, we were Time Warner Cable is a huge company, right? Mm-hmm. Fortune 100 company, and I was in the business side there, and I was the number one guy in the country for a little while there.
Wow.
So I did really well. I love sales. Yeah. Sales to me is a challenge, and it's like you get a new job every month, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter how good you did the previous month. The next month you're back at the bottom. Yeah. So something was a challenge to me, and I kind of enjoyed that.
Right.
But did that for a while, and then I was playing at the Point Church the whole time during that, and I did well financially there doing that, and my wife and I were able to pay our house off and stuff, and to where I could go into full time ministry because you don't really go into now. The Point Church does take care of me. I don't want to say that, but you don't go into ministry for money. Yeah. And so I was able to kind of pay our stuff off and go full time into ministry, awesome. Which is what I wanted to do. And man, I don't ever regret a day of doing that, of being able to just kind of dive in full time to ministry.
We're thrilled you did that as well too. And it was kind of a 3.5 year journey or something like that before you did it. And Doug Irvin used to work with us as our executive pastor or development pastor is what we called him. One day we're having lunch and he kind of leans over and says, "Hey man, let's decide what it'll take to get you full time, right?" I forgot how he said it. You remember how he said it?
He said he was kind of like lobbing it out there, and he was like, "Hey, do you know what so and so would do right here?"
Yeah,
and he was talking about his other pastor that he worked with. He was like, he would do this, so he's kind of like offering and everything at the same time, and but it was great that we were able to just work that out. Another shout out to Doug.
Absolutely.
Irving,
and Ray Johnson, who he was alluding to when he said that, and
he was like, "Do you know what Ray would do right here?"
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting there at the table, and then he just kind of lives it out there.
Yeah. And all these people that we're talking about, I mean, it's really, there's a big theme here. It's become a kind of a catchphrase in culture. It takes a village to raise a child, but really we're all part of a bigger village, and everybody contributes to our betterment and everything that we do, or the worst, depending on the kind of people we stay around. Yeah. And so ultimately you hung around with good people. You had high goals for yourself. You had a great wife and great children. And I think it's also interesting. This is another piece of trivia. So, Jonathan, how many houses have you built?
Oh, for me personally.
For you personally,
yeah. We're in our fifth one.
Okay, and so I moved out from the third to the fourth one, and he had this huge safe that weighed like 7,800 pounds, and he said, "We're never moving again." Oh, by goodness and by God's grace, he moved again, but somebody else moved that safe, not me. I think I had something wrong with my back that Saturday.
Yeah,
but I mean that's really cool. The other thing I think is really interesting is that you've lived most of those places within a mile or two of where you grew up, right? You keep coming back to the same area.
Yeah, so back to where, when I said I used to live out near Forest View High School in Gastonia, there's a neighborhood there, Copperfield. Yeah. It's off Patrick Road. And so that's where I grew up from kindergarten all the way to the 8th grade, like I said before we moved to Belmont. And so after I was married, we lived in another place in Gastonia, and then we built literally right through the woods of that house off Meek Road. And we've sold there again. I've done this 5 times, so we stayed there for a while. And actually, some folks at our church live there. We ride by there. Eli, that's his favorite house. He loves that house. He wants to buy that from the Foys whenever. Yeah,
whenever Scott and Angie, good to see you guys out there. They're still. So I hope the house is still working out well for you. Last time I went in there, everything was all intact and looking good.
Yep. So
Eli liked that house.
He loves that house.
Was that the house where we dedicated Eli?
It is.
I thought so.
Yep. Yeah. So in the living room there.
Or you dedicated him, I just helped. I was the spiritual guy.
You were there. You were a huge part of that. And then so we've sold. We moved to Clover. We jumped across the line because we're right on the line. And now we've moved right back there. I can throw a rock and hit that house almost if I had a really good arm. Right. If I had your arm.
You got a good arm. You ought to see him hit a drive. When he catches a drive on the golf course, it's like 350 yards.
If it's straight.
That's right. This man, actually, I saw him witness one time on where the Travelers Championship is, or is that what they call it? The Travelers?
Yeah.
And the whole island green. So I hit it pin high, left in the He hit it pin high, and it was just like 20 feet away. So this man he's got all kinds of skills.
Luck. Every now and then.
Yeah, that's right.
But so now we live right back there again, and we have both said, and everybody laughs, but we're like, we're done, right? Yeah. We're done building, and building's fun to me. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's just we're tired of moving, I think. So tired of moving that safe.
Well, but so you started this business in high school with DJing, and then you did stuff through college, and you developed that and built that. I think you and your brother Jeremy, didn't you have like a grass painting business for a while?
Yeah,
right.
We did.
You and Jeremy did that, and Jeremy's very attuned to this whole entrepreneurial too. Yep. Shout out to Jeremy out there. But you also developed this knack for building, and although you didn't intend to do so, you kind of on the side, you kind of build houses now, right?
Yeah.
Or you not kinda? You do.
Yeah, I do.
You're the general contractor guy.
The grass painting thing is just that. People have to look that up, right? I mean, grass painting sounds stupid, but you can actually paint grass.
Yeah.
You know, for when it turns dormant.
Can you get any kind of color you want?
Grass we only had was green, right?
Okay, well, green's good.
But we did have we painted pine needles and mulch and stuff like that. So you could do like a dark brown, light brown, red, black mulch, whatever. So you could do that. But that was a cool business too at the time.
That is cool.
So, but yeah, so with the house building thing, you know, my wife and I, her whole family is a bunch of builders, right? Mm-hmm. So her dad, Carol, has been building his entire life, and then she's got 3 older brothers than her. So her youngest brother is 10 years older than her. So
oh, wow.
There's a big gap
there.
So
she's the princess of the family.
Oh, yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Youngest baby sister.
Yeah, and so her oldest brother is 16 years older than her.
Okay.
And so, but we, you know, on our first house we probably did 10% of it, right? We're newlyweds and we're trying to get moved in. We painted our whole house and we managed some things. And Jennifer, you know, kind of been through it. So we did about 10% of it. Our second house, we probably did 50% of it, right? And we're just still kind of learning as we go. Mm-hmm. And then our third house, we did probably 95% of it, you know, as far as managing it and doing all the things. And now, so it's just like we slowly got into it.
Yeah.
I didn't start building for others until about 6 or 7 years ago. Okay. And so now we, I mean, God's blessing with everything that we do. And it's just, it's just a lot of people. We've just got a lot of opportunities right now, I guess. Yeah. And we don't really advertise it at all. It's all just kind of word of mouth, which is fine. You know, what we're wanting to keep it as. It's not our primary thing that we do. But so I say we, it's me and Jennifer's oldest brother, Jeff, who own the company. We're 50-50 partners. And it's something I enjoy, though. I mean, I love.
So you're kind of the GC that gets it sold and then tells everyone what to do, right? Y'all
pretty
do
much.
This? Okay,
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I work a lot with the customer and help them picking out things and handle the financial part of it. And Jeff's kind of the doer. He likes to go and just get it done. And we definitely bleed over. You know, I'll do some and he'll deal some with them, vice versa. But we work really well together. And so it's just been
You also have a side hobby of you like watches, nice watches, right?
Yeah, I do.
That's cool.
I do.
So if you ever watch on Facebook, he's selling these fancy watches and stuff like that. Yeah. And here's what I love about Jonathan and Jennifer. And I don't know how much they give, but I do know they're very generous, and they give back to the life of the church. So we're grateful for that.
Absolutely.
And you don't give to get, but what's interesting from observing you in your life, the more opportunities. I always love to see people when they put God in their first and best, he'll take care of the rest. And he just continues to take care of you and gives you new opportunities while also working 50 hours a week here. He kind of does this on the phone in between meetings and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
cool.
And I mean, I do. this is going to sound, I don't want this to sound boastful at all, but I love being able to give, right?
Amen.
And I get excited about it when I'm able to. I'll text Jennifer doesn't, and she'll watch this, but she doesn't keep up with any of the money aspect of it, right? And so, but I'll just text her and say, hey, I'm doing this as a result of this, so she knows. Yeah. And she's never, wait, we got, do this. She's she's like thumbs up, awesome every time. And so I love being able to do that, and I give all the credit to God every time I can do that.
And you're trustworthy. She trusts you, and that's just an indication that you do that.
Yeah.
And typically in every family, there's, according to Dave Ramsey, there's a spendthrift, and then there's a nerd or the accountant who try to keep everything. So are you the accountant, or are you the spendthrift?
No, I'm definitely the accountant.
Okay, you're the accountant. Okay, all right. So, not that you're spendthrift, Jennifer, by any things like that. But
she does good. She does really good. So
she actually had a thriving business in the essential oil stuff for a while too, right?
She built up a large team there.
And she's a nurse by training.
Yeah,
a great mom, and that's cool.
Yep. So the watch thing is cool. I mean, it's just something fun that I get to do.
Yeah.
My problem is I like way too many of them, and I can't afford all of them. So I'll buy them, and I try to find good deals on them. And I don't make much doing it. I do, but it's a fun hobby that I get to do. So
yeah. And with technology, the world is flat, according to Thomas Friedman, right? You can sell a watch to somebody in China as easily as you can tell one to China Grove, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's easy to do that. And Amazon and all the stuff, eBay that's going along with that. But it's really interesting. A lot of us are in things like that. It's fun. So talk a little bit about how our church has helped you to take a next step or several next steps in your journey with Christ. I think certainly the first one was, okay, I'm going to jump off of this lucrative kind of, I'm good at sales, I'm with Spectrum, they're sending me to like Malibu and places for trips that you'd won, and Jamaica, and I'm kind of like Jessica and Jason Helton. I love looking at the world through your eyes because they've always gone to these cool places, and I love seeing the pictures. But so what are some of the things that God has taught you?
Well, I mean, the one thing that I constantly think about is being a father, really, than so much in the worship side of things. So, like when I'm raising my kids, and I don't want them to have special privileges around our church, or I don't want them to, well, I can do this, or, well, hey, you can't go back there. Well, no, I can because my dad's the worship pastor. And I really separate that line, right, and try to make clear boundaries. But I used to tell people all the time, like, I really thought that a church would be growing if their music program was just rocking. And that was what I believed. And now, being a father, I'm like, man, who cares about the music, right? What's being poured into our kids?
Right.
And, I see that on Wednesday night serving there with Justin and Collision, and then Brittany and Sloan in Kids Point, and our kids wanting to be back there. It's huge to me. You want your kids to want to go to church and want to be there, and I just feel like that's what good music is a perk, I think, but it's like, man, if your kids are happy, I tell people all the time, they'll put up with mediocre preaching, mediocre music all the time, won't they? And they'll put up with it for their kids.
It's always funny to me because here's the deal. We know this, and Jonathan's a very gifted musician, has a great music team.
Thank you.
Here's the deal. When people are watching, let's be honest, some people come for the music, some people come from the message. We know some people online, they'll watch all the music and then they'll click off for the message, or vice versa.
And we're okay with either.
We're okay with that. As long as people are getting Jesus and taking their next step with Christ, that's okay with us.
Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it earlier today with both of us were out this week, and we had Justin and Brent leading, and we were getting comment cards. People were just loving it, and that's awesome to us. I mean,
absolutely.
That's what we want.
So I'm making my vacation calendar now. Brent's going to need to serve 3 or 4 more times, and also Justin's going to need to come back. As a matter of fact, Justin is preaching again on the 21st of May.
I think 21st.
So that's going to be good, and we've got a great summer that's scheduled for the band and everybody else. Here's the thing we can always promise you is that there's not going to be any slacking when anybody leaves, because we want to pick people that are our very best, to give people our very best, because in so many cases people are giving us their time, not just their treasure, but especially their time and their talents. And so we always want to make sure that we're giving people our best every week.
I love to talk about that really quick. The band that we have.
Spectacular.
I mean, I love playing with this group of people. And if you look, like we've had, we don't have a huge rotation of people. And the reason we don't is because like these guys are just so incredibly gifted. They're talented.
And committed to
dedicated.
us.
Dedicated to us. They have a heart for worship. So it's like all these things. It's like, man, they just give a lot to it. And I love it too because there's no, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of times you can have egos and things like that in the way, and we don't have that here. It's just a really fun group to play around. And I do see that, but then occasionally we'll have a guest come in and when they reiterate that from outside, it's just it's a really cool thing to see when they're like, man, you guys are always just like so
absolutely
a great group of people to play with, and they enjoy it. So,
that's exemplary of one of our core values, which is humility, which is selflessly giving our best to other people. And so years and years ago, we looked this like 2013, 14, probably about the time that you came in, and we sat down with a consultant and they said, describe the top 3 or 4, or pick 3 or 4 couples in your church that are very committed, and then describe what those people are about. And so we landed on our core values then, passion, which is authentically giving God our best, and you certainly do that from the music perspective. But we also want to really exemplify humility and selflessly serving others and generosity and integrity, and those are things that are important to us, and they're part of the core of who we are, and we've been moving forward ever since then too. We also want to be a leadership development culture in our community, and Jonathan's helped to do that with his support in the Global Leadership Summit. We've got a community event tomorrow where we're helping with opioid crisis and stuff like that as far as health is going, and we're hoping to do away with that. But your team, back to the point, is very humble, but they're also excellent. You can be excellent and not humble, or you can be humble and there's reasons for your being humble, right? It's kind of like, we'll call you back later, right? But you don't have to do that very often.
Thank goodness. That's always the toughest thing to do. I think in my position is when we do tryouts and things like that, because we do auditions and to be part of it, and we do want to, we're always looking for how can we make it better? How can we make it better? We're reevaluating. That's what we do with our staff meetings, and we look at the weekend and we try to figure out, okay, what were some things we could tweak, right? And then what was great? We celebrate those. We do that first. That's one thing you're big about, celebrating the wins. And then it's like, okay, well, where can we polish it? And so we kind of take that same mentality with our music and just figure out, okay, what can we do better?
And sometimes that means, that song's not going to work even though we thought it was going to work, and this is going to work better. And you just learn to trust your team to pick those songs and to deliver those and execute them.
I think a lot of that goes back to, this is this kind of weird analogy here, but when I used to DJ, right? So I would go out and DJ, and I could have people come up to me and request a song, and I would just be like, I know right now if I play that song, I'm gonna kill it. Like I'll kill everything that's going. And so I know, like, man, if I do that now, if it's the person paying for the event, I'll
okay, that's right.
Like, okay, well, you're paying for it. But
we're gonna take this way down here.
But I say that, and it's not the exact same, but it's similar. So if there's a song that really connects with our church, with maybe where we're at or a series we're in or something like that, it could go really well, and it's like, okay, well, we may need to do that one again. Or it could be a song that I love that just doesn't connect as well. And it's like, okay, well, I need to scratch that. So it's still kind of a similar thing, as far as just gauging where we're at as a church, what songs we do, and songs that kind of fit where we're at. So I
think fit's important, and there's a good conversation about fit we have each week. And I think the way that you go through this process with other band members to pick out songs is kind of like crowdsourcing songs, and so that different people have different opinions. They play them, they're feeling it, they're seeing how people are interacting, and you definitely do a great job with that. And also we try to tie together the lyrics of the songs with the messages that you hear too, so that it's uniform and we're saying a central kind of thing. Good stuff. Absolutely. So talk a little bit about what you're excited about that's coming up in the next 3 or 4 months. What's happening this summer, you and your family? What are you guys going to be doing?
Personally? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or you can talk about church stuff too, but I was thinking about Jennifer and the kids.
Yeah, so we are, I think our biggest thing we're excited about outside of church is we're building a beach house. And so the kids are beyond excited, and they're trying to rush summer up and get here faster. And we went down this weekend to check on it. It's freezing cold, and it's like, guys, you got to remember, it's still April.
It's still April. Which can still be cold in the Carolinas.
Yeah, so the ocean was cold and stuff like that. So we're really excited about that. We're doing one up in the mountains as well, just trying to
A tiny home kind of, right?
It is, yeah.
Is that what you call it? Or
well, we're
do you call
calling it a treehouse.
Treehouse.
So
Okay.
it's only 680 square feet, but it's built up on stilts, so it's like a treehouse. So we're up in the trees and pretty neat.
So the beach house you're building is in North Myrtle Beach?
It's in
South
right at Surfside.
Surfside, excuse me. That's right.
In Ocean Lakes. Down
And then
there,
Cashiers is where your other house.
Cashiers up
Good
there.
deal.
Yep,
We're
on a
excited
creek,
about those
so-
things happening too.
Yeah, so we're excited about that, and it's just kind of something we trying to dabble into the Airbnb world, and just kind of build something for retirement and do that. Which hopefully that's a ways out. So
Absolutely, it is.
yeah,
As long as I have anything to say about it,
yeah.
that would be awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your faith and just some of the things that are meaningful to you. Like, do you have like a life Bible verse or something that's really like a verse that's really inspired you for life, or maybe just something recently you read that's inspiring you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is it always goes back to conversations, whatever conversation I'm currently having at the time, and you know, I'm in this place of peace where I feel like God has called me to be where I'm at, right? And there's this, you know, I was talking with a gentleman the other day, just talking about your feet being in the peace, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing you're where you need to be. Like, it doesn't matter that there's circumstances around you. It doesn't matter life circumstances, because your feet are. Yeah, I think you mentioned it one time where it's like
the shoes of the gospel of peace.
Yeah, but I think it was you'd related them to maybe like concrete or something like that. Like they were
anchored,
like anchored down, and you're just you can't be blown, you can't be moved, and
like a Roman soldier would wear what looks like high school track spikes, meaning that they're anchored in the ground because they've got the spikes. And if you looked at old Roman soldiers' uniforms, and that's what's used in Ephesians chapter 6 to talk about the armor of God, it says stand in the shoes of the gospel of peace. And so you're saying you're standing in a place
just
of peace
grounded in that. Well, and you know, and it's constantly looking back to the word. So if you can't justify it with the word, then it's like, okay, well, it could be changed, right? Or you may need to alter what you're doing if it's not grounded by the word. And so, but I think when you walk in that and you know that you just feel like you're doing God's will, and I'm not saying I've arrived anywhere because I don't know that we.
But you're either
will.
on course or you're off course. And
I feel like I'm on
course.
That's better said. But I feel like I'm on course with where God's calling me to be, and there's peace in that, right? Instead of trying to fight that. And you know, I think a lot of times I deal with people who are fighting that constantly. And so there's always this tension versus, you know, feeling like you got your feet just dug into where you're at. And again, I related that same conversation with worship the other day. You know, there's so many times I feel like sometimes people are like, well, if they play that one song and when it gets to that big part, man, that's when I'm going to, worship or that's when it'll be good. And those things are good, you know, with a great song or whatever. But I tell people that worship is not really a feeling, or it's not like, ooh, man, I got goosebumps. Ooh, that was good. Megan nailed that note, which she does all the time, right?
Yeah, she does. And you do too.
But worship is an action, right? So we can come in having the worst day ever. We, you know, and I'm in that same boat. So it's not that everything's going right for me. I just feel like I'm in where God wants me to be. So, but I still run into issues and things in my life that are, that try to knock you off target. Right?
Sure.
But you know, you think about worship. Worship is an action. So you could come in, you could be arguing with your spouse. You could be just stressed out to the max because of financial troubles. You could be just got a report from the doctor that's not good, but the worship is an action, and so it can bring you out of that area of where you're at, and it just kind of shifts your focus from the doctor's report to God or my numbers of zeros in my bank account to God, my supplier, or you know, a relationship issue to the one who can fix the relationship issue. Yeah. So I think that's huge if we walk in with that mentality every Sunday of like, you know what, I'm going to worship regardless of how I'm feeling today. Yeah. I think that's when God shows up and meets us wherever we need him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
my dad used to say it's impossible to be depressed and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
Meaning like if you're depressed, sing. If you're happy and you are joyful, sing and enjoy that and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it can definitely, the action of worship and do that. Well, by the way, we have a philosophy at the Point. It's called the JSUAW philosophy. A lot of times people come in, it's too loud, it's not loud enough. We like this music, not like that kind of music. JSUAW is just shut up and worship, or rather open up and worship. Maybe we put J-O anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah.
I get it because we all like our favorite songs, and
Yeah.
this is going to be good. And I get all that. We all have those kind of playlists.
Yeah, and in my role, I hear both of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it was funny. I got to share this. Like we had, I'll get people to say, it's too low. I like it cranked, and then some people are like it's too loud, and it's just like you're just constantly floating back and forth a little bit. And we've kind of picked some things that we want standards we want to go by. We go by OSHA standards and everything else that you know about, and we try to do things the right way. But it was funny. I had one. We were playing during this episode, and it was like, hey, could you bring that down a little bit because I want to hear this person. And then somebody had just come up 2 minutes before me and said, I really love that they're playing right there, because it was just like, so it's just like, what do you do?
Bring it up, what do you do?
Bring it up, bring it down, bring it up, bring it down.
And so there is a method to this madness too. So we did discover OSHA standards are kind of like it's unhealthy for decibel levels to go above 95 decibels and stay there for a long period of time. But we're worshiping between 20 and 22 minutes. And so our goal is to try to keep it at the 95 to 90 to 95 bandwidth. Sometimes
and that's kind of a peak, yeah?
Yeah, that's a peak.
Yeah, so I mean, but yeah, we do. I mean, we monitor all that, just so you guys know.
So we care.
We look at a lot of those things. We look at, we walk around and read it on meters, and, so and we don't just check it and we'll check it again in 6 months. I mean, we're doing it almost weekly, right? So that goes back to we're constantly trying to improve and make things better.
Absolutely. That's true. By the way, don't bring your decibel meters and send right up front on the sections that are to the left and the right, because the bass subwoofer is right there, and it will be louder and thump more than any other time as well too. But, we understand. We also... I tell people all the time that we have individual sound adjusters that everybody can get when they come in the door.
Circus peanuts.
That's right. Circus peanuts.
That's what they look like.
You can push them in, or you can pull them out, or you can not put them in at all, and that kind of stuff. You can't turn it up a whole lot because we really have to monitor that, but you can certainly turn it down.
I've probably seen 3 or 4 times where we have guests that come in and it may even be an event through the week, and they're like, "Oh, I want some of those." Yeah. And they're like, "Oh, these are ear." They think it's like a mint or something.
Peanuts. Like, I get what you're saying.
They look like circus peanuts.
That's hilarious. That's true. So. What worries me is when they leave them in when I'm preaching. It's kind of, push them back in there early. Take a little nap here right now. Anyway, this has been a great time together. I want to throw out some questions, kind of and so one other thing I want to say before we kind of do this kind of last little thing is authenticity is the other core value that I did not mention earlier. And so we kind of bleed that culture of authenticity. And so you're what you see is what you get kind of person. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, one day I was talking with your dad, and your dad is on several boards with me, and he's just a great friend and somebody I look up to a lot. And it's interesting, your dad co-signed your loan.
Yeah.
He said, I ain't paying for all this, but I'll let you try to pay for it yourself.
I had to build his trust too, and then work the business. So.
I like that. But Steve says about Jonathan is what you see is what you get. And, when you hear a father say that about his son, that's a great compliment. And I certainly feel that way about him too. What you see is what you get. All right, let's talk about some of the just kind of choices you can make.
All right.
Cowboys or Panthers?
Panthers. Now Mike Assisi, our sound guy at the church, he's a big Cowboys.
We need to get
fan,
Mike in here, by the way, so he can talk about that.
You need to pray for him with the Cowboys.
Yeah, he's from New York, and he likes the Cowboys. That's really crazy. Brownies or ice cream?
Ooh, I like them both. What about a brownie with ice cream on top of it?
Oh, see, there you go. He's mashing it up together.
If I had to say, I'd probably say ice cream.
Favorite guitar?
Ooh, Martin.
Least favorite guitar?
That Takamine G series that I bought at the beginning.
You sold it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. The beach or the mountains? Hard to pick.
Summertime beach, wintertime mountains. This is not going the way the game's supposed to go. I'm not supposed to pick both.
That's okay. You can do that because that's just
it depends on the season.
It's
right?
authenticity. It's coming out right there.
That's right.
Spectrum or Dish TV? This is a test.
Spectrum.
Okay, so
and I worked there, right?
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
I mean, yeah,
good deal. Television, network television, or YouTube videos?
YouTube.
Okay, good deal. Guns or swords?
Guns.
What kind of gun?
Oh man, the shooty bang bang ones. No, I do like guns. Okay. We didn't get into that, but I've got a cool gun collection too, and I'm a hunter as well. So
So, turkeys or deer?
Deer.
Okay, so that was a pretty solid choice right
Yeah.
there. Really cold or really hot?
Really cold.
Like it cold.
Yeah.
Put more clothes on, that kind of stuff.
You can only strip down so far. That's not appropriate.
Soccer or Australian rules football?
Soccer.
I just said that because I watched something last night. Australian rules football is really a different
I don't even
kind
know
of
what
game.
that is.
I didn't either until last night. Watch 60 Minutes. There's a guy who's on there who's talking all about it. He's like 7 feet tall, and he's like this big star of Australian rules football. Let's see. Apple or...
Yeah.
I don't even say the other.
Ask Doug this question. I tried to get
Apple or
Doug to
Microsoft?
switch to Apple forever, but definitely Apple. Okay. I mean, that's not a question.
Good deal. Cool colors, like on Apple, or steel or black?
Steel and black.
All right, good deal. I'm something with you there as well. Truck or car?
Truck.
Best truck you've ever had?
The one I've got now.
Which is?
It's a GMC AT4
Oh,
diesel.
yeah. It's
diesel all the way.
He got behind me coming downtown in my car, and he beat me here because he took the right directions. But that thing coming up behind you is kind of like the boss is coming up here. You better get out of the way. That's good stuff. So is there anything else that you would want to say to people and to challenge people, or just something else to know about you and as we draw this time to conclusion?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I think, we try to come out and say hey to people, and we really want to be connected with our people in our church and
Meaning your band.
the band, right, and everybody on Sunday. We don't want to be behind and be off stage and then come out and play and then disappear again. So we really want to just be a part of our church too, and connect with the people that go there. And I love the people of our church, and I've of course over the years you get to know a lot of people. And I think the craziest thing too is sometimes when we're out and about, because we're a pretty decent sized church, is when people wave to you and you're like, Hey, there
what's
you,
happening?
There you are.
I've seen you again. My favorite friend.
So,
what's your full name again? Anyway,
but I want to know all these people. It's pretty impossible to know everybody, but right, that's one thing we really try to do is get out and know people and connect with everybody. So if you guys see me around church, I'd love to say hey.
Yeah. Follow Jonathan on social media too. There's all these interesting things that he has. You can see and follow along as he comments on guns or watches or
fishing,
hunting or fishing.
Whatever.
And as a matter of fact, for a little while, Eli started like a YouTube channel right with you. You were hunting and fishing, playing golf together, and that kind of stuff, and just really, really cool and very precocious children as well. Very smart, like their mother and their father. Eli, I think, he's taking the SAT today.
He is.
He's like 12
today,
years old. Way to go,
tomorrow,
Eli.
Wednesday. So
Your God, please help him. It's about 2:30. Hopefully, you're about through.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, it's just such a pleasure to share
Absolutely.
Christ with you and
honor.
Just our team, and it's wonderful to be able to meet you. And so, what this podcast is all about is about people taking steps and their next step. So, what do you think, in conclusion here today, what's the next step that you're working on that you feel like God's really calling you to? The next thing I really feel like He wants me to do or think about or work on or whatever.
I think it's really challenging people to take theirs.
Oh.
That's the thing that I'm called to do. So, I hope this podcast does that a little bit with just thinking back to that story of me being thrown into playing guitar. Be open for one, and a common theme in my life is other people around me. Again, I think your tribe is a big thing, right? Depending on the tribe that's around you. So if you've got a good tribe around you, they've really directed my life a lot. And so, but as you mentioned earlier, it could go the other way depending on who those people are. But I would just challenge you guys, step out of the zone. And I kind of hate the step out of your comfort zone thing, but it really is because I was extremely uncomfortable when I was playing that first Wednesday night. I remember that. I don't remember what it sounded like, but I know I was uncomfortable. So, it could be anything. I didn't even do that at the time, and now that's all I do. So, just be open to whatever's out there, and I think, be willing to take that next step for God. Amen.
Well, we want to constantly lead people to take their next step on their journey with Jesus by loving Jesus and becoming like Jesus and sharing Jesus with others. And so in the days and weeks to come, we're going to continue to meet people in our church, not just staff members, but elders and people that are just at the door, holding the door for you because they want to be friendly to you, or they are in the parking lot helping to direct people to make sure that, first of all, cars are safe, and then also that people are safe as they get in and out. And Coffee ministry is thriving these days. A lot of people are involved in that too. We got people that have even cleaned the building before, and that was their ministry. They wanted to go clean the commodes and make sure that they were blue on Sunday morning on the inside, certainly. But we're just so grateful to have Jonathan and your family and Jennifer, and just thanks for sharing this time together. Love you, bro.
Love you too.
Thanks a lot. Tune in next time for the next episode of the Next Step podcast, and we'll see you then.